What's up, bro? Welcome back to another edition of the Stedward Files. I feel like this is, I don't want you to dim, bro. I feel like this is a work in progress still. I haven't filmed you a video in a while, so I thought I would do that today because I got something in the mail. I don't like that I have to tap it if As you know, I sent my Medford fighter off to Medford for their artisanal spa service. So now, one thing with Medford, they do charge for their service, which is fine, but there's no hoops to jump through. They just say, hey, pay this flat fee, and we will, no questions asked, take care of your knife, you know, so long as it's a Medford product, right? So I kind of appreciate that because I've had, and I'm sure everyone has, had nightmares dealing with people's various warranty services, most of which are not actually designed to help you, but designed to be a comforting blanket that they then yank away when it's actually time to be used. You know, for the ease of use, I almost kind of prefer to just pay a flat fee and send it in and not have to be like, well, technically this is the manufacturer's fault, and have to go back and forth and try and win this case as to like why this is you know, a manufacturing defect or something like that, right? So they had a cheaper service, which I think was like 60 or 80 bucks. And then they had their heritage service, which I think was around 125. And their heritage service was just kind of like, no questions asked, we'll cover anything. Everything wrong with a Medford knife, right? And the funny thing is, I sent it in because I am planning to sell the knife. And I know how knife weirdos are. If the knife doesn't look good, I mean, I am that way too, right? Nobody likes to buy a horse that's ridden hard, put up wet, right? So I sent it in to get it repaired because, to be fair, I did treat the USMC fighter, Medford fighter, like shit, and we'll get into that here in a minute. So when I opened the box, I noticed that it was full of packing peanuts, which is the most boomer shit. This is the most boomer shit. Okay, which to me tracks with Medford. Medford's kind of a boomer company. And so for them to use packing peanuts, I think is on the ball. But this is boomer shit. This is like a fuck you to customers. This is so annoying to police up. And it's so hard to keep it from flying out of the box. I hate packing peanuts. Like, honestly, I think styrofoam in general should be illegal. So, aside from the packing peanuts, I noticed immediately that they sent me a brand new sheath, which is actually super cool. I don't remember my old sheath being completely destroyed or anything. And we'll look at the old sheet too. Now here's the old sheath. So, the new one looks thicker, actually. Looks thicker, in my opinion. Like, even though this one has the blade in it, this one still looks thicker. And this also has like a scaly like a scaly texture. Different stitching, obviously, black, lighter color, lighter dye or whatever. I think I like, from a style perspective, I think I like the darker brown better, but I think I can darken this up if I want to. I think this is really cool though. To give a brand new sheath. It's very cool. Same sort of belt pattern on the back. This sheath also had this dangling 550 cord. I removed it on the old sheath. So it does come with all the same 550 cord. So we'll take a look at the knife. I wish I looked for comparison photos. I wish I had comparison photos of how fucked up this knife was before it left from Medford Knives. I wish I did, because then I could illustrate how much work they did. But I kind of remember what it looked like, obviously, so I'll kind of walk you through what that looks like, what they've changed. And let me wipe it off here. Got a little junk on it. Okay. Here is my Medford fighter. Ooh, look at that tip. Look at that, traveling by, doing a little drive-by. Oh, and she's coming back. Oh yeah. So, good things about the fighter. We'll talk about it a little bit. Unapologetically American, right? It's a giant chunk of American-made steel, and possibly one of the most American blade profiles, which is the Fighting K-bar, right? So, massive knife, massive fucking knife. I believe this is 1/4 inch blade stock. So, everything about this is overbuilt. The guard screws into the scales. The scales screw into the hilt, and the pommel, I think, also screws in. So like it's very rock solid. I actually tried to, when I was cleaning this up, when I was thinking about selling it, I was trying to disassemble it, and I thought, you pop these 6 screws off and everything kind of comes apart. Wrong. This cross guard is interlocking, and then there are 2 torque screws on either side that also screw into the scales, which then screw into the hilt. I'm sorry, the tang. And then I didn't even get to this point because one of the retaining screws for the scale broke off. So anyway, we'll talk about what the, sorry, I'm like trying to get light in here. Then I realize I got my cool headlamp. They definitely cleaned up, re-edged the blade. So the edge was fucking destroyed. So this is S35 VN stainless steel. It's brittle, right? It's very hard stuff. Now the good thing is, when it's so huge, right? When the object that is brittle and hard is so huge, it's way less likely to chip. Well, I was chopping metal with this thing. I was chopping actual metal with it. So the chips and chunks I was taking out of this blade were from comically destructive activities. So I definitely don't want to say that I destroyed this knife with normal use. This knife was fucked up through absolutely malicious abuse, right? So the edge was fucked up in a lot of areas. They made that, sorry. Yeah, the edge looks perfect. It looks like they hit the clip here too. So they didn't, yeah, because they definitely didn't like completely refinish the knife, right? Because there's still a lot of like pre-existing scratches. I don't know if you can see like the scratches right there, you know, but it is extensively cleaned up. The guard is cleaned up. There's still some scratches, but again, it's a lot better than it was. The scale hardware actually had some rust on it. The torque bolts for the scales. They didn't do a ton for the pommel. You could see the pommel's still pretty fucked up. You could see I was using it as a impact tool a lot. So, but there's not really many like big deformations or big chunks. You know, you could see a couple like really minor gouges, but for the most part, that's largely cosmetic. So yeah, I think they did a nice job. I think for the work they did on fixing the edge, the new hardware, the new sheath, I feel like it's a good bargain for me, for my position where I was with this knife. You know, if I sent in my Medford Fighter and it wasn't as beaten up, I would maybe feel differently about the level of service. Maybe I would have wanted them to do more or been a little more exacting with how they cleaned things up. But this knife was pretty trashed, and it looks a lot better now. And you know, I would expect to pay, I mean, for the sheath alone, I would say I would expect to pay $100 for this. Sharpening service, $50. You know, hardware, $40. You know, cleaning service, $40. So to me, I think it works out. Yeah. It's still a very impressive blade if you're a fan of the K-bar. If, you know, for me, my problem with the K-bar, and this is not to say that Ontario Knife Company or K-bar do not produce decent blades. But if you're someone who is used to carrying knives that average around $500, $600, $700, the $200 K-bar is going to feel and perform worse, right? When you're used to better materials, right? So having a completely overbuilt, over-engineered K-bar in a better steel, right? And yeah, it's not Magna Cut, it's not this, it's not RWL, it's not Vanitas or whatever the other cool powdered steels are. No, but they also make it in CPM 3V. I don't even, like, a quarter-inch stock of 3V would be ridiculous. I'm not usually the biggest fan of S35, but like I said, S35 in this thickness is fucking ridiculous. You don't suffer nearly as many of the drawbacks of S35 when it's the size of a Gladius. The biggest drawback of this knife is the applicability, right? It's just, you need to either live out in the country where, you know, open carrying of this is a 5-inch blade, so a 6-inch K-bar, we'll say, 6-inch K-bar is something that no one will even take a second look at. You know, fortunately, I live in an area where people don't look twice at someone carrying a K-bar around. If I happen to move back to the city or something like that, my ability to carry this K-bar drops dramatically, right? Now, does that mean it's inherently a bad knife? No, we do need knives to just fulfill certain purposes and just fulfill them really well, right? So having a really great unitasker maybe is really nice, but if you're me, I'm disabled and I'm out of the fight. I'm not like you. I'm not deployed. I have less use for a infantry knife. This is an infantry knife, right? This is a fighting knife. This is an infantry fighting knife, right? There's a difference, right? Difference in philosophy of use, difference in design, difference in a lot of things, right? I could foresee me needing this. There's less reason for me to need this, right? So I don't know if it'll stay with me. I'll probably hang on to it and admire it and question if I want to keep such a large fighter in my inventory. It's, you know, it's a super entertaining. It's Americana. If you're someone who likes American blades, I think having a nice K-bar is easily in the top 3 in any sort of collection like that. And your choices for premium K-bars are Hinderer, I believe, Medford, and Spartan. That's really it. So it really just depends on how big you want to go, because Medford's the big chunky boy, full tang, 1/4 inch stock. It's got you know, more of a spear point versus that aggressive clip you see on the Hinderer. So just very few design differences that I guess cater to different people. Yeah. So anyway, that's the Medford fighter coming back to me. That's what you can kind of expect when you send one of your Medford knives in for their heritage restoration. I don't think you own any Medford knives, but if you ever do start looking at a Medford, that's what you can expect. The edge looks good. Feels sharp. Yeah, like the blade is, you know, there's blade wear all on the edge here and stuff like that, but it's overall not bad. Like, they didn't let anything go coming out that's super bad. I think the worst is the butt cap. But again, it's all pretty superficial. It's just kind of scratched up a lot. And I don't really know how what their limit is there on that. But like I said, I think the sheath, the extra sheath was pretty cool. So, you know, and I think that's what really kind of brings it home for me, is that the care and attention, right? Because you're looking at a market where things are priced individually in the $500, $600, $700, $800 range. You kind of hope that the customer service, it comes with care and attention, right? And if there are problems that with your individually very expensive item, that people are going to go above and beyond to try and, you know, make it amicable, make it happy, right? I will, like, a good knife design doesn't mean shit to me if I can't talk to the maker, you know, and I've lamented to you, you know, numerous times about all the makers who I find very disagreeable. So anyway, that's the Medford fighter coming back to me, and that's the Medford Heritage Restoration Program. Buzzoing.